we are going to look at our storm system that we're still expecting. I do still expect some snow. The forecast hasn't drastically changed by any means, but we are going to be looking at a chance for our first, maybe even measurable snow in a few spots. And technically, to get measurable, we're talking 1/10 of an inch, and some places may even see a little bit more than that on unpaved surfaces. That's the one thing here. So I'll continue to kind of break things down. There's also a chat here, so feel free to ask me questions, maybe in particular on where you live, but I'm going to try to kind of give a view of what we are going to expect, just because honestly, depending on where you live, you'll see something very different than someone 20 miles away from you to the west, 20 miles to the north, 20 miles to the south, or 20 miles to the east. So it's going to be kind of hit or miss, just depending on where exactly you live, and then also as these showers come through. So let's take a look at what we've got going on right now. I'll pop in the corner. Radar. We do have, again, a few showers popping up, and this is at about, I forgot what time it is. Let's see, 7:30 Saturday evening. So we're starting to see maybe some light rain and maybe some light snow, but honestly, the bulk of the moisture is still off to the west. It's not here just yet. If you watch the Oregon game against Iowa, it was raining throughout that entire game, and that's because that's where the moisture is. So as we zoom out, you can see where we have the rain. Right now, we are looking at rain through most of Illinois, and then snow up through Wisconsin, and then now transitioning from rain to snow for those that are in Iowa at this moment. So that all is moving in our direction, and we are going to see this as we get into tonight. Now, I do expect the showers, again, to be kind of spotty through about midnight tonight, but then around midnight is when we do start to see the showers pick up across the region. You may be wondering, well, what are we looking at? Well, before we get there, as you take a look, our rain snow chances, first I want to point out again, a spotty shower or two before midnight, but after that you can see our chances go up near 90%, 85% as we get into the early morning hours of Sunday. So thankfully a lot of this is looking like it's going to come through when hopefully not that many people are on the roadways, though I know we will have people coming back from East Lansing with Michigan State playing tonight up there. So if you have friends, just make sure that they're weather aware, aware of potentially slippery conditions, which we could see. But let's take a look here. This is Futurecast. This is the graph model, and honestly, it's been doing pretty good. It has not wavered much from its track. It was also one of the models that had most of the moisture coming in around midnight, while other ones started bringing it in closer to 8 or 9 o'clock. And so as of right now, based on the latest information, that's what the timing is kind of shaping out to be. So as you put things into motion, I've taken off the clouds, first of all, just so it's easier to see. We've got green here. That means rain, of course. The pink, that's a rain snow mix, and then the purpley blue color, that is snow. So right around midnight, we start to see that push of some moisture moving into the region. Then as we head into the early morning hours, we will continue to see some showers, but they are going to be a bit broken potentially, depending on the exact track of the storm. But again, I want to backtrack almost. We'll go back from midnight, and I'll go a little bit slower here. Take a look at that line, that dividing pink line here. Good chance to see rain, especially initially on the eastern part of Monroe County, potentially all of Monroe County, definitely the eastern part of Wayne County, also potentially all of the county, most of Macomb County, as well as the eastern part of Oakland County. Now, if you live west of that, that's where you have some hillier spots too, when we have some of the colder temperatures. That is going to see a rain snow mix, but potentially more snow than rain, even as these showers initially come through. All right, we're going to fast forward just a little bit more. Again, we get that first little batch coming through. This is about 4:30 a.m. And then we're going to fast forward all the way through about 7 a.m. So if you notice, that pink line has shifted just a bit. This is because the center of the storm is now starting to move to the east. It's more so in northern Ohio, and so we are starting to see some of the colder air wrapping around it, and we'll have a better chance for more snow than rain across more of the area, as you can see here. Then as we continue to cycle on through, we'll fast forward through about 10 a.m. on Sunday. This will be the best chance that almost all of us will be looking at snow, still potentially mixed with some rain. And the reason I say that, even though here you see a lot of blue and purple, that is because we are looking at temperatures warm enough to potentially still cause those snowflakes to melt into raindrops before they reach the ground. All right, then we continue on. We'll stop at about 5 o'clock on Sunday. The storm does start to move even more to the east and the northeast, and eventually it's going to continue to go in that direction and take the bulk of the moisture with it. But then because the lakes are around us and we have colder air filtering in, we will switch to lake effect snow showers starting Sunday afternoon, and then they'll continue throughout the day on Monday. So if you notice the coverage here, far less than when the storm system comes through, and it's really going to be dependent on the winds. Now, most of Sunday, winds will be out of the north, so we will see potentially some lake effect snow showers here coming in from off of Lake Huron and even the Bay of Saginaw, or Saginaw Bay, gosh, not the Bay of Saginaw, Saginaw Bay, as we get into your Sunday afternoon. Then Monday, the winds change though. They'll be more out of the northwest. So that could, if we get this perfect wind, it's a wind that's at about 300 degrees. When you take a look at everything, you know, 360 is one circle, about 300 degrees. This northwest wind that we can get a good fetch across Lake Michigan, and that band can make it all the way across the state. So there's a chance for that, but there's a much better chance for the lake effect snow to kind of stay farther on the west side of the state than for us here in southeast Michigan. But still something to keep an eye on as many of us head back to work or school. So you can actually kind of see this band here. If you take a look at our logo and then kind of going down, it's going to try to curve. So we'll see if that kind of pulls together. But again, that is as you move into your Monday, and with the lake effect snow showers changing across the area. All right, then we are going to take a look at our kind of snowfall forecast map. Now, before actually I show you this, I want to kind of touch on, oh, whoops, close out max. There we go. Now you can see it. One of the things I want to touch on is with our first snow. So it is not unusual to have our first snow. We averaged it on November 16th, so we're pretty close to that. But because we're so early in the season, the ground is still pretty warm. We have not had a deep freeze even within the top inch of the ground yet. Think about it. We really haven't had a big cold spell over the last couple days. So that leads to the first couple snowflakes melting, and maybe even the snow melting the entire time. So these totals that we are going to be talking about in the future will be on unpaved surfaces most likely. Now, I also want to say, with that said, if you do get a quick burst of snow, and if it comes very fast, it doesn't take much to have a short-lived accumulation that can create slippery conditions. That's what makes this forecast kind of so frustrating in a way. You're not going to see a beautiful snow where you can build snowmen and do all that necessarily, especially not everywhere, but it may be just enough, even for a short amount of time, that would be a concern for traveling. So if you're traveling anywhere Sunday morning, I want you to keep an eye on the forecast. All right. Let's get to what we are looking at. So you see the pink area here, that's that rain snow mix. And again, it kind of follows that line. Mainly the eastern part of southeast Michigan is likely to stay warmer, likely to have rain more than snow, or at least keep the rain longer before we transition to a better chance for some snow. And then you go off to the north and west, that's where we better have a better chance, for more snow than rain. Now, I'm going to take you all the way back to elementary school. I don't know if you learned about this in elementary school, but we have what's called a moraine here in Michigan. So you got your thumb, right? And the reason we actually kind of have this thumb shaped here is because way back when we had glaciers, they deposited some material each and every time they came out, and then they receded back, and then they expanded and back. So anyways, they deposited this material right here along the thumb. And if you think about it, if you've ever driven out into Livingston County or even towards Brighton, so parts of Oakland County and Washtenaw County, it gets hillier, right? Well, that's the moraine. There is some elevation there, and that leads to spots that can have some cooler temperatures, and we tend to have some potential more accumulation right along that spot. So in those spots especially, we do have the potential to see about 1 to 2 inches of a slushy accumulation. So it's going to be a wetter snow, and of course mixed with some of the rain too. This will be on unpaved surfaces again. So this could be the grass. It could be a railing. It could be your car, something like that. I'm trying to pick everything that's not, a paved road, not your road or your sidewalk. Those still have a great chance to continue to just be wet as this all moves on through. So this is what we're looking at as we get into Sunday, especially once that storm comes through. Now, I will say there is the potential for additional snow Sunday into Monday from lake effect bands, but that's going to be highly localized, meaning probably like one town could see another inch or 2 inches of snow while no one else sees it in the surrounding area. So that's what we get with those localized lake effect snow bands. But again, that's Sunday into Monday. But as we get into tonight into Sunday morning, this is more so of what we are looking at across the region. So still expecting this. Now, with that forecast, as you can see kind of here, what we are looking at, this is the first snow. I would just be cautious if you're driving out and about at all tomorrow. This is not the grab the milk, buy all the bread just to hide in your house. No, this is just to be like, hey, it's not that perfect driving weather outside. We're not looking at great weather to go out and about and take a look at the final leaves that are on the trees. No, this is more so just be prepared for some slippery spots. Though, of course, crews are going to be out too. They'll be salting if they need to on any slippery conditions. I know road crews are prepared for this. So it's not going to be terrible, but it's not one of those things to just kind of, go a little faster when you really shouldn't, of course, in situations like that. So let's see. I was just reading some of the chats that I've got coming in. Oh, I like this. Steve is hoping for 2 feet. So if you're out there and hoping for 2 feet like Steve with snow, good luck. I will say that's not going to happen. I don't think we want that yet. But hey, I'm going to honestly say I would like some good snow this year. Last year was such a bummer with the amount of snow we have. It's okay, but and then by the time we get to February, we can just go back to spring-like weather or something like that. But if we get like all of our snow between now and beginning of January and then we warm up, that would be nice, but we'll see. Anyways, so that's what we're looking at. The other thing I want to touch on before we kind of circle back here is the wind. So that's one thing I have not talked about yet, but you're going to notice it because unfortunately we're going to be looking at breezy conditions tomorrow all the way through Thursday. So our winds tomorrow through Thursday are going to be about 15 to 20 miles per hour with gusts 25 to even 30 miles per hour. So we're talking breezy conditions over the next about 5 days. Now the winds will definitely change direction. Tomorrow they're out of the north, next day out of the north-northwest, the day after that out of the west-southwest, then they're out of the west, and then they're out of the west-northwest as you get into Thursday. So yeah, they're kind of moving all around, but unfortunately, we do have the colder air pulling in, and when you add the winds, it just makes it feel that much colder. So I want to take a look first. Wind gusts tomorrow. We're going to look again, winds picking up towards the afternoon. That's going to pull in some of the colder temperatures. So you can see our gusts around 25 to 27 miles per hour. So it's going to make it feel colder. Our temperatures are going to be in the 30s, while it is going to feel more like the 20s. And what I'm looking for right now is was this the one? This graphic that I made yesterday and I couldn't find it, but here it is. Okay, so there's our temperatures. Temperature for starting tonight into tomorrow morning. So you're going to notice here our wind chills will be a little bit colder. So even though tomorrow morning it's going to be in the mid 30s, it's going to feel more like the upper 20s. So it is going to be chilly across the area. I want to take a look at this graphic, which I'm actually going to maybe just build a second. You may or may not see this. Let's see what it's thinking. Ooh, I probably made it mad. I don't even know what you're looking at this point. Let's see. I think I have this for Monday. Okay, you know what, actually, I don't need to build this graphic, but I want you to see this graphic. Okay, so this is looking ahead towards Monday. Remember, Monday is, once the system is gone, we will be having winds out of the north-northwest, 15 to 25 miles per hour. That'll bring us the chance for lake effect snow, some off of Lake Huron, especially towards the tip of the thumb, and then potentially if we get the bands coming all the way across the state and coming here in southeast Michigan. So again, strong winds overall. So our temperatures throughout the day on Monday, overall chilly. We're honestly going to be a few degrees below freezing to start and then climb just a few degrees above freezing for the afternoon. It is going to feel like winter. Then as we take a look at wind chills though, it's going to feel a lot colder. So as you're taking your kids to the bus stop Monday morning, it's going to feel like the teens in quite a few spots. We're talking mid to upper teens in most locations. And then by the afternoon, it's going to feel like the mid 20s. So overall, it is going to be a big change. Just think about Friday or yesterday, it was a lot warmer. We had temperatures even in the upper 50s and we didn't really have winds, so it was not that bad, or mid 50s I should say. So it is going to feel colder. We're drastically going to feel that on Monday. Tuesday is not going to be that much warmer either. Going to have similar wind chills as Monday, especially early with the wind chills in the teens. So bundle up yourself and of course your kids if they're heading to the bus stop, or if you're just if you know anyone, just make sure that they're able to stay warm too. This is kind of our first bigger cold blast of some air, and that's a little bit of a dramatic thing. I don't like to overdo it, but it's definitely going to be colder than what we've had here across the region. All right, let's see, what do we have? Just seeing if you have any questions. I am going to cycle back and take a look. Well, actually, before we cycle back, I always like to give some hope at the end because, of course, we want to know, when are we going to get out of this, right? Is anyone else wondering, when are we going to be done with the really cold conditions, or when are we going to be moving on from snow? So I want to show you the 7-day forecast. And it's coming in just a couple seconds here. Beautiful there. All right, so you can see here, we are going to keep a slight snow chance on Tuesday. It's a small chance if we get a little bit of moisture coming in late in the day on Tuesday. Otherwise, again, the biggest thing Tuesday will be it's still going to be breezy. It's still going to feel cold. We'll have partly sunny skies. Wednesday, a chance for a few spotty rain showers. Just a 20% chance, honestly, both Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's not going to be crazy or a lot or anything like that. But then there's that hope. Take a look at the end of the week and into next weekend. Much nicer. We're talking mostly to partly sunny skies, and then highs will be back close to 50 degrees as we get towards the end of the week. So again, there's some brighter and warmer conditions coming by the end of the week. So there's your 7-day forecast. I'm going to backtrack, take a look at where the storm is right now, and kind of walk you through again what you can expect. All right, so let's take a look at our DMA, or here in Southeast Michigan, as we take a look at our current radar and what you have going on. I'm going to get a little pointer here. So first of all, you can kind of see all these little spotty things here. This is actually just the radar trying to pick up anything. These could be birds even if they're still flying around. But this right here, that is more of some light potential rain if it's making it to the ground. Sometimes the initial moisture that comes in actually runs into dry air, and so as it falls into, like falls from the cloud, there's dry air here, so it literally evaporates. So that is what we'll likely are seeing still at this moment, but we will likely continue to see the entire column of air all the way down to the surface have a bit more moisture in it, and then once that happens, then we will see, of course, more and more reach the ground. Now up here, I know it's kind of strange color. This could be some light snow already falling in the very northwestern corner of Livingston County. Very light, if anything at all at this moment, but like I mentioned, the bulk of the moisture is still off to the west. Now it is now edging into the western side of the state here, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So you can see definitely moving into areas like Kalamazoo, even west of Grand Rapids, Grand Haven, Saugatuck, those areas definitely seeing more of the steadier moisture coming through. Chicago, rain at this moment. Milwaukee, maybe a mix. But out farther to the west, we have more of the rain, and then kind of wrapping around. So with storm systems, we have counterclockwise motion. So again, around the storm, you can almost kind of see that curl with it. The center of the low is actually closer to Quincy, if not even a little bit farther to the south. But so we're pulling in that colder air from the northeast, so that's why it changes over to some snow. The temperatures here are much colder, while here we're still kind of in the warmer sector. Winds have been mainly out of the southwest, so that's why we're in the warmer part of the storm, and then we have rain showers. All right, so that's a little bit about that. Again, taking a look at our chance for precipitation, this is not specific between rain or snow, but our chances for rain and snow go way up past midnight tonight. Still potential for some lighter showers between now and midnight tonight. Again, if you have friends out and about, just make sure that they're okay, that they know. That's the biggest thing. It's not going to be like, oh my gosh, you're going to have to drive through 6 inches of snow or a foot of snow. No, it's just be prepared for the potential for some slick spots, or, you know, make sure that you do have windshield wiper fluid in your car, because sometimes if crews are out there now, they have two different types. There's salt that they can put on the ground, and then they also have kind of a de-icer, which is a liquid form. So sometimes when that gets sprayed up on the windshield, that's harder to see. So it's just kind of all those reminders. You know, it's the first snow that like needs to remind you to, oh yeah, I got to do that, or oh yeah, I haven't done that for 6 months, so I got to do that. Like me today, I was like, oh, we got to wrap our plants finally, because we planted new plants this year, and you know, we're finally seeing some colder conditions. Anyways, side note, I always run into tangents. But anyways, let's talk about the model here. So again, as we continue through tonight, spotty showers, mainly in the form of rain, not going to let some snowflakes mixed in through about midnight tonight. Once we get to midnight, though, that's when we start to see the moisture arrive, coming in from the west-southwest and then moving across the area in the early morning hours. Now, it does look like there's some indication that we'll at least see somewhat of a little break, or at least broken apart showers as you get closer to 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, but then it does filter back in as we get a bigger push of moisture getting closer to 7 a.m. and then throughout the morning. Now, we touched on it earlier. I'm stopping it now around 10 o'clock here. The green and even the yellow and orange, that's rain. The pink here, that's where we could see that mix, and then blue, that's more snow, but I still expect some mixing potentially with some raindrops just because of our air temperature. So it's likely a lot of it's falling as snow, but if it warms storms just enough, those snowflakes will melt into raindrops. But this is at 10 a.m. So a lot of times people heading out and about, grocery shopping, going to church, you name it, whatever that you're doing, we could be looking at some snow conditions across the area. Now, this isn't going to be a lot of snow, but if you do get a little burst, we could have some short-lived accumulation. So what I mean by that is, honestly, if it snows for 5 minutes, most of that should melt on the ground, but it may be potentially slightly heavier, and it may create just a thin little layer of some stacked snowflakes that could create some slippery spots. So that's what I'm talking about, short-lived potential. Though the best potential for accumulation is on any unpaved surface, so not a road, not a sidewalk, but just still be cautious out and about, especially tomorrow morning. All right, we fast forward throughout the day. The storm starts to move to the east. This is around about dinner time tomorrow. We are going to be looking at still some moisture in play, but the system is starting to move away from us. However, behind the system, we have the colder air. Again, as the storm is south of us and even off to the south and east of us, our winds will be out of mainly the north. And think, north, it's cold. So we are going to be pulling in, again, snow or the colder air, which will lead to snow. Now, our lakes right now are about 50 degrees. So when you have cold air, let's say roughly 30 to 35 degrees, which is what we're looking at air-wise coming into our region, and the lake at 50 degrees, that's what causes lake effect snowbands, when you have cold air going over warm lake water. Literally, that air goes over, picks up that moisture, runs into the land, and then dumps that moisture in the form of snow. So as you take a look here, again, looking at a changeover to potentially lake effect snowbands. And the way you can tell actually lake effect snowbands there, you can really see it right here. Take a look. I will make this, oh, it won't let me do this. Oh, let me put a pause point so I can show you. Okay, so you notice here, yes, this band's going this way. Winds at this point are out of the north-northwest. There's nothing over here, right? This is on the northeast side of the lake. That's because the wind is going in this direction. So once it gets towards land, that's why the bands are going in this direction. So a good chance if you live north of I-69, even north of M59, good chance to see some lake effect snow bands starting tomorrow afternoon and evening, and then continuing into Monday. But if you notice by Monday morning, bands are more kind of oriented from north to south. That's because our winds will be out of the north, so we'll have a chance for still some snow showers up towards the thumb. Not as much for everyone else here. Monday will likely be partly sunny for a majority of us, and then we'll keep an eye as winds start to change. You can even see those bands starting to change. They're now more oriented from the northwest to the southeast, and that will take some of the snow, at least from Lake Huron, or the lake effect snow, into Canada. But we'll have to keep an eye on the Lake Michigan, because we can get a fetch across Lake Michigan and create that band all the way across the state. It's just that perfect kind of stretch. Of course, it's not as much as what they'll see on the west side of the state, but we could see that eventually make its way all the way across if we get that perfect kind of northwesterly wind. All right, again, on totals, I want to take a look at this. This is not, again, the things about this is there's a good chance we're all going to see snow, but we definitely have a better chance to see more snow than rain the farther north and west you live of Detroit, especially if you live in our Moraine, again, the hillier area there. That's where we have a better chance to even potentially have a slushy accumulation of 1 to 2 inches, mainly on unpaved surfaces. So not the roads, not the sidewalks, but this does include grass, bushes, maybe even on trees, your car, you name it. We will be looking at likely the steadiest snow. Again, this is not a big snowstorm that's going to dump a lot, a half an inch an hour, nothing like that. But our likeliest, steadiest amount of snow will probably be between about 7 a.m. and then through about 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. So keep an eye on that. We will have snow before, we will have snow after. That's just kind of where that placement is when the center of the storm is close to us, perfectly placed to the southeast of us, where we could have our steadiest amount. So again, if you're out and about Sunday morning, just be prepared for some slippery conditions and snow falling then. I don't expect really much accumulation, especially south of Port Huron, mainly close to the Detroit River, Lake St. Clair, Lake Erie. That doesn't mean you aren't going to see snow, but this is going to be the spot that will likely have more rain than snow, just staying warmer. Think about it too. I mean, the lakes again are in the 50s, so it's still going to be a little bit warmer there too, even though you have the colder air coming across. Just looking at that. All right, I'm going to take a look and see if we've got any more questions coming. Ooh, I like that. Someone's hoping for more snow, hoping for white Christmas as we get towards of course, December. We'll see if we get to that. Let's see. How much is Traverse City getting? That's a good question. I did not look up at specifics up there. Just trying to keep it more local down here. But they're actually going to miss out on the first part of this storm for the most part. It's the lake effect that they could see behind the system as you get into Sunday and Monday. And the most I've seen, I don't think it has been too much in Traverse City. And that's just because the winds kind of go from the north to the northwest to the west pretty much within about 18 hours. I was going to say 12 hours. So it's not like a consistent northwest wind that's perfect, or even a northerly wind for Traverse City to get a ton of snow. But that's at least the latest I've seen. All right, let's see what, any other questions on, I guess, the forecast overall. Again, we're still waiting. We still have plenty of time. We're now coming up on about 8 o'clock. We still have about at least 4 hours before we see things get a bit more, not intense. That's like the thing. Again, this is not major winter storm. No, this is just the first chance for measurable snow, and also a reminder of all the things that you need to do to prepare for winter kind of storm that's coming through. One thing to note too, even if you get snow at your house, this may not be our first measurable snow in Detroit. We keep our records out at the weather station that's at the Metro Airport. So if you know where that is, close to Ypsilanti, that is where, or Romulus, of course, sorry, Romulus, that is where our official records are kept. So if they do not get 1/10 of an inch of snow, it will not be our first measurable snow of the year. Of course, we will always say, like, it's not that it didn't happen in your house, but that's what we are looking at for that system. Let's see, any questions you guys have for me about timing, what we can expect, anything like that. I'm always here to give some information. Thank you all for continuing on this live stream. I know we do have college football going on right now, so you don't get the breakdown exactly of what we can expect. Oh, someone's saying they want 10 inches of snow. Yeah, no. But we're not going to see that, thank goodness. The highest amount, honestly, I saw was like good potential to pick up, again, 1 to 2 inches, mainly from Pontiac. Where it gets hilly up just to the southwest of Pontiac, and then down through Brighton. Brighton. I know, I'm a Michigander too, so Brighton, there's no T. Kind of like Holly, maybe Fenton area, in through Commerce. Kind of depends on where you live. Again, we're talking like the hillier areas. That has the best chance to see potentially that 1 to 2 inch of a slushy accumulation, mainly on elevated surfaces. So that's what we're looking at. Probably should drink water instead of you're probably all dying out there listening to me. But anyways, yeah, just send me your questions. And then we'll continue to do a recap kind of on this system and what we can expect. So again, we're looking at current radar right now. And so what we're looking at, again, let me take off some of the layers here. So this is just our radar. It's not specifying between snow or rain. This is a different type of kind of a composite thing now, red, which shows also a chance for some snow because it's factoring in temperatures in this region. So we could be looking at, I'll take off the kind of that the noise from the actual radar site. We could be looking at some light rain or light snow showers. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have some drier air in place, so some of this could actually be evaporating before it reaches the ground. But we will get more and more moisture coming in, especially by midnight. All that moisture right now just off to the west, so you can see this nice system here as we zoom in. Does look like they're looking at heavier rain through Chicago, along I-80 out towards Davenport. So we get the yellows and the reds too. They're also going to have a changeover getting north into most of Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin, looking at snow. For Iowa, most of the day it's been rain. They are trying to change over to some snow as some colder air comes through on the backside of this storm. But you can see we've mainly got a big push of moisture coming our way. I'll zoom out even more. Whoop, there we go. And you can see the storm system here. Now, if you're wondering where are the clouds, there are the clouds. Zoom in a little bit closer. Oh gosh, that was like a jump scare. Anyways, so we do have a lot of clouds in place right now. I just take it off so it's easier for us to see the difference between where it's raining and then where we're looking at snow at this moment. Again, with this system, we've got warmer air on the south side of it. That's why it's rain. Colder air pulling in on the north side of it. That's why we're looking at some snow showers. And then lucky for us, we're going to be kind of right on that dividing line like they're seeing right now through Wisconsin and Chicago, if we're going to see rain or if we're going to see snow. Let's take a look at a different view of this model output. We'll start it off tonight. I'm going to start it off at 11 o'clock tonight, and then I want to kind of slowly go through. So the center of the low is pretty much through central Iowa, oh my gosh, central Illinois right now. And as we get through tonight, this low is going to move through Indiana and Ohio. I'm going to stop it at about 7 o'clock Sunday morning. So when you get this low centered right where it is, which is in like northern Ohio, if you're on the northwestern side of this low, which we would be here in southeast Michigan, that's where you can have the colder temperatures and potentially a steadier, narrow band of some snow. So that's our best potential for, again, our steadiest kind of snow as we get into tomorrow between about 7 a.m. and then as we fast forward through about 11 a.m. So that's 11 a.m. And then eventually we should start to see some tapering down. Really doesn't look like we're going to see much of a break throughout the day, whether it be rain or snow, but we are eventually, once we continue into Sunday night. So I'm going to fast forward it all the way. This is about midnight Sunday night. So you can actually see the center of the low all the way is all the way in Burlington, Vermont. So way up into the northeast. But I've added the winds here, the wind line, so you can see our winds will be out of the north. We have cold air coming through. Air temperatures will be close to freezing, if not below. So going over the warmer lake waters, we're looking at lake effect snow potential off of Lake Huron initially. Once we get into Sunday, late afternoon and evening. And then as we continue into Sunday night, you're going to see, or excuse me, yeah, Sunday night and Monday morning, you're going to see the winds now be more out of the north, almost northwest, so still some Lake Huron influence. And then we get in throughout the day, Monday, getting into Monday evening, you can really pick up that curvature. And backtrack just a little bit. You can pick up that curvature with the snow band here. So this is a lake effect snow band. Models are actually doing really good now, kind of picking up these bands. So there's even more, of course, going in other spots, even here south of Buffalo. But this is what we're looking at, the potential, again, for more lake effect snow. It's better chance on the west side of the state, but sometimes if we get the perfect kind of push, we could see that band go across the state. Now you saw here, though, the thing about it kind of shuts down in a way, though, because when we get into Monday night to Tuesday, the pattern changes. The winds become lighter at night, so it kind of shuts down that lake effect snow happening. It's going on across the area because the land temperature also drops even colder at night. So we just have colder air going over cold land too. And anyways, it just kind of fizzles out at night. So we'll see if we get more lake effect snow. This will be more of a concern. I think the lake effect snow, especially if you live in northern Indiana, closer to Chicago, and then even on the southwestern side of our state too. Of course, we have seen year after year, some of those lake effect snow bands that just dump inches of snow in southwest Michigan that cause those big pileups. So that's the one thing I hope we don't see as we get into tomorrow, and just hopefully, again, just be cautious out and about as you're driving. All right, so that's what we're looking at big picture wise. I want to touch back on the winds. We were talking about winds. So the next couple of days, our winds are going to be strong. They'll be about 15 to 20 miles per hour with gusts near 25 and 30 miles per hour. Honestly, from tomorrow all the way through Thursday. Now, they will become lighter each and every night, but we'll see them pick up each and every afternoon especially. And because of that, that's why we're not only looking at the lake effect snow late tomorrow into Monday, but we're also looking at potentially cold temperatures. So as we were talking about earlier, I want to take a look at what we're going to see tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, it's going to feel a little bit colder, but because our air temperatures aren't as cold just yet, it's not going to feel that bad. So this is actually tonight into tomorrow. You can see our temperatures fall at night, very common, before they work their way back up. But it is going to feel colder when you factor in the winds, especially by daybreak. We're going to already have gusts at least about 20, maybe up to 25 miles per hour. So it's going to feel more like the upper 20s. Tomorrow morning. Hello, winter. All right. But yeah, it's going to feel quite different out there. But then we fast forward to Monday, it's going to be even colder. Now, our actual morning temperatures are going to be in the mid 20s. There will probably be spots in the low 20s. Some of our colder spots, for example, Ann Arbor, always really chilly, much colder than some other spots. So when you take a look at these temperatures, these are our actual air temperatures forecasted for Monday. But when you factor in the winds, which again will be about 15 to 25 miles per hour, looking at winds out of the northwest on Monday, it's going to feel more like a day spent in the teens and the 20s. You heard that right, teens and 20s. So make sure not only you are prepared for the colder temperatures, make sure that your friends and your neighbors are prepared as well. And then also if you're taking your kids to school on Monday, that they're prepared for some cold temperatures, especially if they're standing at the bus stop. It does not take that long to feel very cold out there. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Just checking the chat, see if anyone has any questions about the weather. I think I've covered a lot. Let's go back to the hopeful outlook, I will say, because you may be thinking, man, is this it from now until March? No, we will warm up back and actually closer to average by the end of the week. So again, tomorrow, the rain snow mix. Some of us more snow than rain. The farther south and east, more rain than snow. Monday, lake effect snow showers. Most of the day, though, will be partly sunny. We do pick up more clouds Tuesday. There's kind of this weak little disturbance that has a chance for a few snow showers late in the day. And I know I have a temperature of 39 here on Tuesday and still have that snow. This is mainly a chance for some spotty snow showers as we get into close to the evening as our temperatures drop. Again, the sunset now is around 5:15, and then some outlying areas will not be in the upper 30s on Tuesday afternoon. It would likely be more so in the mid 30s and closer to that freezing mark. So better chance to see maybe snow on Tuesday. Wednesday, though, definitely too warm to support that. So if we do get a spotty shower, it would be rain. And as you can see, Tuesday and Wednesday's chances 20%, which means you have a much better chance to stay dry on those days, even though we do have a few showers kind of rolling on through a bit of a disturbance. Thursday, Friday, though, much better. We're back to mostly to partly sunny skies. Highs in the upper 40s on Thursday, near 50 on Friday, and then we'll hold the 50s into next weekend. So, again, there is some warmer conditions, some nicer weather as we get towards the end of the week and into next weekend. But it is definitely going to be an interesting end to this weekend and start to the work week with the expected weather. All right, so I think, let's see, we've got any other questions? I don't think we do. I think I'm going to just kind of, I don't know, end it. Isn't this great? I need the cue to be like, Marisa, stop talking, get off the screen, because that's what I always get on TV. But I hope this helped kind of help you plan for your Sunday. Again, this is not going to be a shutdown event of the whole city or anything like that, but it's just going to be one of those storms that you just need to be prepared for the potential for some slippery spots. Just be cautious on your Sunday, and then also prepare and think, hey, well, I probably need this now. This is a good reminder that I need to do this or I need to do that, just to prepare for the winter weather to come over the next couple of months. So hopefully that helps you out. I will see you tonight after the football game. We'll see if it's 11:20, maybe 11 o'clock. We could hope for that. But, of course, on 7 News Detroit at 11, it'll still be called that even if we're on later. And then I'll continue to keep you posted. Hallie will be in tomorrow morning to keep you posted as well, live. And then also, again, we'll have a look at stuff again as we get into Sunday evening and prepare you for your work week, especially focusing on the winds and the wind chills as we head into next week. So hopefully that answers some questions for you. I hope you have a great